All right, so today we're going to be tackling one of those stories that pretty much everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
The boat, all of the animals, the big flood, the whole shebang.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we're going to dig a little deeper here, go beyond the Sunday school version, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So really looking at what this story in Genesis has to say about things like faith, you know, obedience, and something we all deal with, right?
Oh, for sure.
How to get ready for a future that we can't really totally see coming.
Well, and one of the things that's so interesting right from the start is just how bleak the picture is. I mean, it really doesn't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
The text is very clear that humanity is, off the rails, like so far gone this as God is actually grieved. But then right in the middle of all that, you have Noah, and he's this stark contrast. Like they call him righteous.
Right.
In a world that's, basically drowning in its own wickedness.
Yeah. And that's where things get really interesting. Because, God doesn't just say to Noah, hey, man, things are going to get bad, build a boat.
Right.
It's very, very specific.
Incredibly specific.
Down to, what kind of wood to use, this pitch coating, how many rooms to build. It's like,
yeah, it's like a blueprint.
Yeah, like some ancient blueprint.
And that's really fascinating because that level of detail, it wasn't just about making sure the boat floated. I mean,
right.
Building with gopher wood, for example, that wasn't the norm.
Okay.
Cypress wood with that resin in it, that's what they used for ships in the ancient Near East.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, I mean, this level of craftsmanship, it was probably pretty rare, even for a skilled builder.
So it's not just build a boat, it's
right.
Build this boat.
Precisely.
Yeah. I mean, I can almost picture Noah like scratching his head at some of these instructions like,
oh, absolutely.
Wait, what?
I mean, and that brings us to this whole question of obedience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. This task, it's monumental.
Totally.
The idea of a flood that covers the world, I mean, who had ever even heard of such a thing? But what does the text say? Noah did all that God commanded, just like that.
Wow.
No arguing, no trying to get out of it, no negotiating.
He just dives right in.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone else must have thought he was
totally
completely bonkers.
I mean, can you imagine you're building this giant boat, and people are looking at you like you've lost your mind.
What is going on over there?
But Noah, he just keeps going. He doesn't let it stop him.
That's some serious faith.
Yeah. And it's not just, blind faith either. It's this deep, deep trust that pushes him to act, even when it doesn't make sense.
Even when it seems impossible.
Exactly.
It makes me think about all those times when we're given instructions.
Yeah.
Right. And they seem so detailed.
Yeah.
Or even a little crazy. We might grumble about it, question it. Like, why do I have to do it this way?
Right.
But what if, like Noah, we just embrace that kind of radical obedience, that willingness to trust the process even when we don't get it?
That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what if those little details, those moments where we're, tempted to cut corners or skip a step.
Yeah.
What if they actually matter more than we realize? What if like Noah, we discovered that real faith isn't about having all the answers, but it's about acting on the trust that we do have.
Yeah.
Even when we don't understand the why behind it all.
Yeah.
That's a pretty profound idea.
That is.
Yeah. It wasn't just the building itself, though, was it?
Right.
I mean, all the provisions, the food, the water, enough to keep all those animals alive, his family, himself, for who knows how long.
Right.
This wasn't just, a weekend cruise.
No.
This was prepping for, the end of the world.
Yeah. Like some ancient hardcore prepping.
Right.
Yeah. And not just, throwing a bunch of hay and
absolutely
grain in a corner. We're talking about a completely self-sustaining ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like a mini world crammed into this wooden box. It's kind of amazing when you think about it.
It is. It's a biological marvel as much as it is an architectural one.
Yeah. I mean, it speaks to this this incredible level of planning and foresight.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to believe.
And it brings up another point that I think is really fascinating. This wasn't just about, saving Noah and his family.
Right.
It was about preserving life itself. Like every kind of life. He was tasked with protecting the future of all creation.
Wow. So it's almost like hitting the reset button on the whole world, and Noah's the one chosen to make sure that happens.
The unlikely hero.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, I mean, what was it like inside that ark?
Oh, can you imagine?
All those animals.
All the noises.
The smells.
The smell.
Just the craziness of being stuck in there with all those creatures.
But even in the midst of all that chaos, there must have been some kind of order, some sense of purpose.
Right.
They were literally floating towards a new beginning, carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Even though they're surrounded by the storm,
right.
There's this feeling of moving forward, this hope for what comes after the flood. It's like that saying, faith isn't about believing that God will stop the storm, but that he'll see you through it.
Right.
And it's in those times when we're really in the thick of it, when things uncertain, that's when our faith is really tested.
That's when it's refined by fire.
Yeah.
And it's easy to have faith when everything's going great, right?
When the seas are calm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's those trials, those flood moments that really make our faith stronger.
Make it more resilient.
More resilient, exactly.
Yeah.
And you see that theme throughout the Bible, not just in Noah's story.
And something that I think often gets overlooked is just the scale of this event.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about a global flood. I mean, it's almost impossible to...
It's hard to fathom.
Wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really makes you think about the power of nature and the limits of human control.
We like to think we're in charge, don't we?
We do.
That we can control things. But ultimately, there are forces at play that are much, much bigger than us.
Right.
And I think there's a real humility in recognizing that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good reminder that, despite all our efforts, all our technology or ingenuity, there are things that we just can't control.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe accepting that, acknowledging that we're part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a step towards a deeper understanding of faith.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if maybe the flood wasn't just about destruction. Maybe it was also about cleansing, about making space for something new, a fresh start for humanity, a chance to learn from the past and create a future that's more in line with, with God's will.
It's interesting you say that about cleansing. It makes me think, we've been talking about this ark, right? This big, huge boat that literally saved life from this crazy event. But what about other kinds of arcs? What about, not ones made of wood, but ones we build with, like our decisions, our values, how we treat each other?
That's a really great point. If Noah's Ark was all about keeping people alive physically, what are the arcs we make to protect ourselves on the inside? Our hearts, our minds, our spirits, especially when life gets rough.
So we're not talking about like hoarding supplies and building bunkers and stuff.
Right. Although being prepared practically is never a bad thing. But the arcs I'm talking about, those are more about building strength from within. Like being anchored to something bigger than yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. So what would some of those modern day arcs look like?
Well, think about family. A family that loves each other, that's strong, that can be like an ark, especially when everything outside feels like it's falling apart. It gives you shelter, support. It reminds you that you belong. It's a foundation built on things like love and trust and shared memories.
That makes sense. Family can definitely be a source of strength when things are tough. What else?
Well, how about being smart with money? Taking care of your resources. That can be another kind of arc. It doesn't mean being greedy, but it means having security so when tough times come, you can handle them and you can even help other people out.
It's like having your own financial life raft ready to go.
Exactly. And maybe the most important arc of all is the one we build with God, through prayer or just spending time reflecting. It's about nourishing that connection to something bigger than yourself, which can give you direction, strength, and peace, especially when you're going through a tough time.
So it's kind of like building up your spiritual muscles, getting ready for whatever comes your way.
Right. And remember, Noah had to have so much trust in God, so much patience while he was building. We need that same kind of faith, that willingness to follow what we believe in, even when things are confusing or unclear.
It's kind of empowering when you think about it, right?
Mm?
Because it means we're not just, helpless. We have choices.
Yeah.
We can actually build the arcs that help us, not just get by, but really thrive, even when life gets hard.
And maybe that's the most important message from the story of Noah's Ark. It's not just about a flood. It's not just about a boat. It's about how powerful faith can be, about getting ready for the future, and holding on to the belief that even in the darkest times, there's a chance for things to get better, a fresh start.
I like that. And as we wrap up today, I want to leave our listeners with this. What are the arcs you feel called to build in your own life right now? What are some things you can do starting today to build those sources of strength and resilience and faith? I think you explore those questions, you might be surprised how much more meaningful and purposeful your life can become.
And you might even inspire others to start
Mm,
building their own arcs, too.
exactly. Because it really is all about sharing our stories and supporting each other along the way. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the story of Noah's Ark.